after gaining ground on the Pirates. Now have a chance to clinch at home. First up on the homestand is the St. Louis Cardinals. And Joe Madden thinks the young Cubs can catch the Cards. It's the hunt for October, and it continues with the Redbirds here on ABC 7.
Right now from ABC 7 Chicago. Baseball on ABC 7.
The fourth best team in baseball is back home after an 11-game road trip in which they won 7 games. And they get to face Matt Holliday, Matt Carpenter, and the team with the best record in the major leagues, the St. Louis Cardinals. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to an overcast Wrigley Field. We're expecting a little bit of rain today. I'm Jim Rose, and here's what we have coming up for you today on Cubs pregame. We'll check in with Len Casper and Jim Deshaies with the pitching matchups and a scouting report of sorts on today's opener. And then after a break, you're going to meet Carl Edwards, the Cubs' up-and-coming pitcher who's not shy about what he can bring to this wild card chase. And we'll wrap up our pregame show with Joe Madden on the expectations he has for a club now 24 games above the 500 mark. But first, let's go upstairs to the booth and check in with Len and JD. And fellas, it's been one heck of a fantastic season for the Chicago Cubs baseball team, and in particular, first baseman Anthony Rizzo.
You're right, Jim. Second straight 30-homer season for Anthony Rizzo. He will definitely be in that MVP mix.
Yeah, I think Bryce Harper probably the leader of the pack in that regard, but certainly Anthony Rizzo will be in the conversation, and he's been such a big part of it for the Cubs all summer long.
Let's take a look at leaders of the game, brought to you by DeVry University's Keller School Management. Unlock the leaders inside of you.
A go-ahead home run for Rizzo yesterday against Charlie Morton of the Pirates, and that's the thing. If you want to get into some esoteric numbers, there's such a thing known as win probability added. It talks about when guys get big hits in critical situations. Anthony Rizzo leads the major leagues in that regard, and you see what he's done. Back-to-back 30-home run seasons by Cub left-handed hitters. He joins the great Billy Williams.
Yeah, and also through age 25 season, he and Ron Santo, the only two Cubs to have multiple 30-homer campaigns. He's got a long career ahead of him. Jung-Ho Kang does too, but his fine rookie season came to an end yesterday. This has been the talk of baseball.
Yeah, it's just a good hard slide by Chris Coghlan. Kang had to know he was going to be in a little bit of trouble because that ball was hit pretty far to Neil Walker's left, so it's going to be a long throw back to second base to get that lead runner. And Kang, he could see Coghlan coming. Give him credit for hanging in there and trying to turn that double play, but he was not able to get airborne. That front leg was planted. Coghlan hit it, blew out the knee. Done for the year.
Yeah, he's got a tibial fracture as well, and he may not be ready for opening day next year, but I like what he said through his agent yesterday, essentially exonerating Chris Coghlan. In a lot of cases, JD, if it's your guy, it's clean. If it's their guy, it's dirty. But we just had a shot at Matt Holliday earlier, a guy who loves to barrel through at second base. And I was talking with one of the Cubs coaches today. With all the shifting that goes on, that play becomes a little bit more dangerous now.
Right, because as a Walker, he's not a normal double play depth. There would be a quick little flip to get that lead. Man, he was more towards the hole. He had a long throw to make. And again, that's a play normally you see a second baseman get hit on because his back is to the base runner. He can't really see the base runner coming. Shortstop sees him. Normally they're able to get airborne and avoid the contact.
Let's get into the Cadillac pitching matchup today. Couple of right-handers. Lance Lynn had a short start against the Cubs in St. Louis, and Dan Herron needs to be a lot better, as he admitted his last time out.
And this is a rematch 2 starts ago against St. Louis. Dan Herron did his best work as a Cub, 7 shutout innings as the Cubs got to Lance Lynn early, knocked him out of the ballgame. But yeah, last time out for Herron in Philadelphia, things did not go well at all.
All right, JD, real quickly, Cubs are 7 out in the division with 16 to go. Joe has not conceded yet. They got to sweep this weekend if they're going to do it.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. The chances of the Cubs running down the Cardinals very, very remote. But if they don't win 3 games here this weekend, there's probably no chance it's going to happen. Intriguing pitching matchups. A couple of top flight guys going for the Cardinals, Michael Wacha and Carlos Martinez. Johnny Holstaff, it'll be a bullpen day for the Cubs tomorrow And then John Lesher, coming off that brilliant performance in Pittsburgh, will work the finale on Sunday.
All right, Jim Rose, back to you as we get set for the Cardinals and the Cubs coming up.
So some interesting times coming up, Len and JD here on ABC7. Next week, we're going to have that first game with the Pittsburgh Pirates. But coming up here on ABC7's coverage of Cubs baseball, you'll meet the future of the Cubs pitching staff, Carl C.J. Edwards, as Cubs baseball continues here on ABC7. I'm joined by C.J. Edwards, who is one of the up-and-coming pitchers for the Chicago Cubs. And C.J., first off, let's start off with your uniform number. You know, Tony Jacobs was the last Cub pitcher in 1948 to wear a uniform number that had a single digit, and yours is number 6. What's the history behind that number 6?
You know, I actually don't know. I just grew up always having single-digit numbers all through, baseball, so the first number they said was 6, and I said, okay, give me number 6.
All right, I'll tell you who, to me, is the most famous number 6 in the history of sports. Dr. J, Julius Erving, the great basketball player in the NBA.
Yeah, I know a lot about Julius there. I know a lot about Dr. J. I played basketball myself, so it's a very good thing to have number 6.
Tell me a little bit about your journey so far in baseball, not just Major League Baseball, but coming up through the minors as well.
It was tough, just coming about, where I was drafted at, where I come from, small town out of Prosperity, South Carolina, and to, take the steps that I have and, made, possibly my dream come true as to, get here and play, Major League Baseball. It's been a pretty good experience, had ups and downs, and everything's right now just moving smoothly, just making the transition from minor league ball now to, Major League ball.
You've had 2 appearances with the Cubs so far, and they're right in the middle of a pennant run here. And Joe Madden is not too shy about telling you, hey, once we get this thing clinched or whatever, I'm going to use you. How do you feel about that?
I feel great about it. He has a lot of confidence in me and, other guys in the bullpen, and, this coaching staff does too. And, it feels real good, as a young kid to come up and, you know, being able to, you know, take on some pressures and just, you know, just being here.
What's it like seeing guys like Jake Arrieta, John Lester, guys like that pitch? And Jake is having a phenomenal season so far.
Yeah, it's awesome to see them guys, man. You know, I say it's a blessing for me to be here and watch these guys pitch, and the way they go out there and take care of business is by far one of the best experiences as a young kid, and you know that a lot of people in this Cubs organization will ever see again. And just seeing those guys go out and have fun and you know handling their business the right way is a plus to this team.
Well, CJ, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us. The best of luck to you going forward in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And go Cubs.
Go Cubs.
All right. And we'll be back with more here on ABC 7. Joe Madden in our next segment from Wrigley Field. Stay with us.
ABC7 is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, located on the web at mbusa.com. By DeVry University, different on purpose. By American Family Insurance, insure carefully, dream fearlessly. By Jeep, get a great deal on a legendary Jeep brand vehicle at the Jeep Celebration event. And by Southwest Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com.
Watch your team at 10 with Ron Major, Kathy Brock, Cheryl Burton, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Taft, and Sports with Mark Giangreco, only on ABC 7 Eyewitness News. You know, the rookies have to carry what is known as the candy bag, and Carl Edwards gets that duty today. You know, I think most of us did not expect the Cubs to do as well as they have done so far this season. 24 games above the 500 mark and the fourth best record in all of baseball. But Joe Madden, the manager, sure thought that they would do very well, and he expects them to not only compete but defeat the St. Louis Cardinals.
Truthfully, I thought we were all of this. I did, but then you got to actually work it daily. How does this all fit? You could sit there and write notes down and think about it in advance, which I do. But you have to actually experience it to understand, well, how does this really fit, and how do these guys fit in these particular moments? So it's been a very interesting education for me. We're trying to surpass them. But first we got to get Pittsburgh, and then we got to go after them. I don't want anybody just thinking, oh, let's just make the playoffs. Let's just be a wild card team. I don't want that thought at all. That's the kind of thought that gets you in trouble. You just keep shooting for the top ladder, rung on the ladder. That's what you keep going for, and that's what I want our focus to be. And if you talk to everybody in that room, I'm certain you're going to get the same response from them.
And that leads us to our out-of-town scoreboard, the National League wild card remaining schedule, and the Jeep wild card graphic. It's the Cubs with 16 games left. They're going to take on 7 teams that are over the 500 mark. Now, Pittsburgh only has 6 home games left. 9 of those are against over 500 clubs. And the San Francisco Giants, well, they're just about an also-ran. They've got 4 games against teams over the 500 mark. So it's going to be the Cubs against the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 1. Dan Herron against Lance Lynn from Wrigley Field. It's overcast here, but we're going to get baseball in today. Thanks for watching ABC 7's Cubs pregame show live from historic Wrigley Field. Coming up next, the Cubs and the Cardinals with Len and JD. I'm Jim Rose. Thanks for watching, and have a great game.
Seven is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. By Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places. And by the Bob LaCourcio Auto Group. You're going to like buying a car this way.
By Downing, swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The fireworks are going. Henry Aaron is coming around third. His teammates are at home plate, and listen to this crowd.
As we welcome you back to Wrigley Field, we lost one of the greats yesterday at age 88. Milo Hamilton, former Cubs broadcaster, worked in St. Louis, did Browns games in 1953, the Cardinals in 1954, 2 stints here with the Cubs, and he will be missed. They had a moment of silence here a few minutes ago as we get you set for the Cardinals and the Cubs. This HD broadcast is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Let's take a look at our Mercedes keys to the game. Dan Herron, one of the more extreme fly ball pitchers in baseball. He's tied for the league, having surrendered 31 home runs. So you always take a peek at the flags, and it appears to be fairly mild here right now. Earlier the wind was blowing out with a little more gusto. And family matters, sure, you know about Holiday and Carpenter and some of these other Cardinals you've seen a lot of over the years. But Tommy Pham, a longtime minor leaguer, has gotten increased playing time here lately, and he's been red hot. 7 out of his last 13 with 3 long ones.
Cardinals lineup brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Carpenter, Pham, and Hayward at the top. Peralta, Piscotty, and Wong occupy the middle. Cruz, Moss, and Lynn. No Yadier Molina today. More on that situation here in a moment as ex-Cardinal Dan Herron gets set to work.
Cubs defense brought to you by Toyota. Fly ball pitcher could be a busy day for Schwarber, Fowler, and Cogler. Less so for La Stella, Russell, Castro, Rizzo. And Montero is behind the plate.
And away we go on this overcast, warm September afternoon. 1-0 on Carpenter. That's a strike. 1-1.
Dan Herron, the veteran, started his career as a Cardinal this year with the Marlins and the Cubs. He has combined to go 9-9 with a .387 earned run average.
Up in the air into left center. That ball carrying, and it's Fowler on the warning track near the 368 marker. Weather at the first pitch brought to you by Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing. For all the right reasons, call 866-4-SEASONS. 75 beautiful degrees, southwest at 4. And the rain, if we get it, sounds like it will be later this afternoon.
Dan's going to go mid to upper 80s with his fastball. He's going to throw a lot of cut fastballs. He also has a curveball and a split finger pitch. That's a cutter there.
I mentioned Tommy Pham, red hot. His last 3 games, 7 hits, double, 2 triples, 3 home runs. He's knocked in 8. So Mike Matheny going with the hot hand, and he sends one skyward. And out on the new sod in the outfield grass, it's Starlin Castro to make the play. A couple of concerts during this last road trip here at Wrigley Field, and the grounds crew furiously getting the field ready for this homestand, the final one of the regular season.
Good work, boys. It looks good. This guy's been hot too. Jason Hayward, 385 over the last week. He'll be a free agent at the end of the year, putting up very good numbers.
He's been very good against the Cubs this season. 16 games, he has scored 16 runs against the Cubs. Let's go back to Tuesday in Milwaukee. A game-winning 2-run shot in the 10th by Tyler Thornburg.
Like a 2-iron.
There's it out. And it's 1-2. Cardinals had lost 8 of 10 before winning their last 4 in a row. Their magic number to get into the playoffs is 2. So that's all but established. They're trying to win the division. Their magic number in the NL Central is down to 10. That's Cardinal wins and Pirates losses combined, and the Pirates embarking on a long road trip that starts in Los Angeles tonight. Fly ball pitcher, and right on cue. 3 outs in the air for Dan Herron. Cubs coming up when we return. by Southwest Airlines. Dexter Fowler with a 9-game hitting streak. Kyle Schwarber in left. Chris Coghlan having a fantastic month of September. Anthony Rizzo has 3 consecutive game-winning RBIs. LaStella, Montero, Castro ahead of the pitcher Dan Herron, with Addison Russell coming off a fine performance yesterday, hitting 9th. And here's Lance Lynn. Ball 1 to Fowler.
No. 2 starts ago for Lynn in St. Louis against the Cubs. Dexter Fowler greeted him with a leadoff home run.
Swing and a miss.
Lynn, a big guy, 28 years of age, 6'5", 240, 11-10 with a 3.17 earned run average. Better in the first half than he's been here in the second half.
He's from Brownsburg, Indiana. College teammate of Chris Coghlan at Ole Miss. And they roughed up Lynn. He was working on extra rest going into that start on September 7th.
Now lasted 2 1/3. Charged with 6 earned runs. A lot of hard contact.
Including that leadoff homer by Fowler in the Cubs' 9-0 win on Labor Day.
Well, if Dan Herron is one of the fly balliest pitchers in the game, Lance Lynn is the fastballiest pitcher in the game, at least among starters. He uses his fastball more than any other pitcher. About 86% of the time you're going to see fastballs from Lynn. Let's take a look at the Cardinals defensively. It's brought to you by Nissan. Piscotty and Pham, the rookies. Left center, Jason Hayward, one of the best in the business out there in right. Carpenter, Peralta on the left side of the infield. Wong and Moss on the right side. And Tony Cruz in there for a struggling Yadier Molina. He'll do the catching this afternoon.
Peralta to Moss, and they get Fowler.
Wong Moss. It sounds like a salad or something. Well, Lynn was bad last time against the Cubs. You don't expect him to be bad twice in a row. He's been a very dependable starting pitcher for a while now. 13 starts against the Cubs. Got off to a great start. Last 7, not so much. 5.54 ERA. A couple really bad ones inflating that earned run average. He's 0-3 with a 7.53 ERA against the Cubs this year.
Facing Kyle Schwarber, making his 28th start in left. This is Major League appearance number 57. He has 16 of the Cubs' 61 home runs coming from rookies. That is a club record in a single season. They are not going to set the all-time rookie record. The 2006 Florida Marlins got 112 home runs from rookies. And Nolasco. I was reading Ricky Nolasco hit a home run as Schwarber held up. There you see the NL leaders among rookies, brought to you by DeVry University. And Chris Bryant just 1 behind Jock Peterson. He walked him. In case you're wondering, Dan Uggla hit 27 in 06 as a rookie for Florida. Josh Willingham hit 26. Mike Jacobs 20.
It's a good trivia question there.
And as I was reading, Ricky Nolasco, a rookie, also hit 1 home run.
Chris Coghlan was a rookie with the Marlins in 2009. He was a rookie of the year that year. Really not relevant to the Marlin rookie home run thing, but it's
interesting nonetheless.
One thought triggers another here.
Outside for ball 1. This year has really mirrored Coghlan's career. He is a notoriously slow starter and saves his best for last. This year, his OPS in the second half, 100 points better than the first half. His 2 worst months career-wise, April and May. Ooh, that really hurt. Oh, man. Foul ball off himself. See what got him.
cut fastball or slider, and he hammers that right off of his shin bone, it appeared. If nothing else, he's just going to need a little time here to let that pain subside. Move around a little bit, see if there are any more significant issues. Looks like he's going to be okay. He went down like he was shot. Yeah, I think, Chris, I think he's maybe a little underrated in his value to this team, because obviously Rizzo's been, the main guy. And then the other storyline has been all the young kids, and Coughlin's story kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but he's obviously been a very big part of it here.
Essentially has gone from left to second to right. His defensive versatility has loomed pretty large, keeping him in that lineup. Yeah, in his career, he's about a .220 hitter before June 1st. But August 1st and after, right around .315. 2-1.
I mentioned all the fastballs you're going to see from Lance Lynn in a typical start, and you might wonder, well, how does he get away with it? How has he been such a successful pitcher? Well, he throws 2-seamers and 4-seamers. There's some deception in his delivery, especially when he throws his 4-seamers. He'll get a lot of swings and misses.
3-1.
Trying to create some extra movement there. He's not overpowering. He's not a mid-90s fastball guy. Typically throws strike one and then starts to expand with that fastball. It's really a good lesson for a lot of pitchers who tend to get too cute. He's still hobbling around.
So you're saying fastballs are not cute?
No, well, yeah, cute would be, and always trying to trick people, and sometimes you have to. If you don't have a good enough fastball, you have to be that kind of guy. But we do see some pitchers who have plus velocity, and you think, man, if he would just locate that fastball, he'd be fine.
Let's see if Schwarber runs. He's not going on a 3-2, bounced foul.
Sometimes it's a case of, we want to be what we are not. You see a lot of sluggers like to try to get a little daring on the bases when they probably should not. See a lot of little guys sometimes get into bad habits of trying to lift the ball out of the ballpark. And sometimes you see guys who should just commit to being power pitchers try to be finesse type pitchers.
So the lesson is do what you do best.
Do what you do.
Ball 4, back-to-back walks.
What I would say, and I don't think this has ever been said before, this is an original thought from me. Stay within yourself, I think.
At the plate, first baseman, number 44, Anthony Rizzo.
Cubs have won 3 in a row, and he has the game-winning RBI in all 3 ball games.
That boy's happy to be back home, dancing in the dugout.
Montero's got some moves.
Yeah, he does. Good to see that he can still move after running the bases the way he did the last couple days.
Go-ahead home run yesterday for Rizzo's 30th of the year, and he takes a strike.
Yeah, I referenced it in our pregame hit with Jim down there about Rizzo and his WPA win probability added. Very esoteric stat. Can't explain it, but I can read about it. And when I did, he's the best in baseball. Basically, it puts weight on each hit. So, you hit a home run in the first inning in a game that turns out to be 9-0. That's not all that meaningful. You hit a home run in the 7th inning to give your club the lead, and you end up winning by a run. It's huge. And Anthony, according to that metric, is the best in the game. Well, so if you're trying to build the MVP case for Riz, you could go there.
3 days ago, Cubs won 2-1. He made it 1-0 in the first on a single. Yesterday, the go-ahead 2-run homer. Cubs won the game eventually by a final of 9-6. 1 and 2. Back-to-back walks to set it up.
I see Lynn maybe being a little averse to the strike zone, the way the Cubs jumped on him in St. Louis.
.125th career start for Lynn. He's 28th here this season. He's never had an ERA above 4. His 5th major league campaign. Cardinals continue to lead the majors in earned run average, 2.86.
.474 in the month of September, though. Cardinals are 7 and 8 this month.
It is very lightly misting right now. A lot of humidity in the air as Rizzo fouls again. Still 1 and 2.
Lynn, in some regards, is kind of like the Coughlin of the Cardinal rotation. He's not the guy that grabs all the headlines, but he's very productive. Look at this career mark, 60 and 38. Yes, he's pitching for a very good team. Yes, wins are overrated, but hard to deny that.
Two on, 1 out. First inning. Bounce toward the middle. It's through. And Rizzo with another go-ahead RBI. Schwarber's in. Coughlin to third. It's 1-0.
Whoa, and listen to this crowd. Early noise. That'll enhance the WPA. Two-seamer running away. Here comes Schwarber. Cubs take the lead.
Now Tommy La Stella in for Chris Bryant. They're getting a bunch of lefties in the lineup. First 6 batters Lynn will face here, all from the left side, including the switch hitter Fowler. First and third, still only 1 out. La Stella hits it a ton way foul to right.
Yeah, we missed Tommy La Stella pretty much all summer long with that oblique injury, and the more he plays, the more you're impressed with his approach at the plate. Disciplined guy, quick bat. He's not had a lot of chances, but he's getting more chances lately because he's been good. 5 out of 14. That's a .357 batting average on the road trip. 3 doubles, drove in 4.
He was a teammate last year. Jason Hayward's in Atlanta, and he shoots that one to left. Into the corner. Coughlin will trot home. Rizzo nearing third. Gary Jones is going to stop him. And it's 2-0 on a double by La Stella.
Yeah, well, this is the second or third time we've seen him do this. He'll use both lines. If it's in, he'll yank it into the right field corner. If it's away, he'll drive it in that direction. That's called good hitting. And an early visit for Derek Lilliquist, the pitching coach. Riz going hard, giving Gary Jones a chance to send him, but he decides to shut him down. Not a bad idea. Looked like they would have a good play on him at home. There's just 1 out in the inning.
Second and third for Miguel Montero. Last 12 games hitting .356, and the Cardinals will bring their infielders in a bit, about halfway up the middle. Cornermen pulled way in. Carpenter almost on the grass at third. Rizzo at third, La Stella at second. 2-0 already, and ball 1. By the way, I don't have the actual stat. It's something like 2 or 3 times since the All-Star break the Cubs have had on-field batting practice. They hit on the field once on this last road trip. And notice how the Cubs offense has been better here as of late. And Joe Maddon thinks that those things are at least somewhat connected.
Yeah, well, you know, there's the herd mentality in baseball. There always has been, and you tend to go along because that's what everybody does, and everybody typically takes batting practice way more than Joe Maddon's teams do. But a lot of people say, man, guys get tired. They swing the bat too much, and so you have to kind of force them not to swing it as much.
3-0. Castro on deck.
Some big numbers in this ballpark since the end of July, averaging better than 6 runs per game.
Yeah, July was the Cubs' worst month offensively. If you look at team OPS, their 2 best months by far have been August and September. He walked in, and they're loaded. And that's already a 30-pitch first inning.
Well, I think that was a semi-intentional walk there with Castro, a noted ground ball hitter coming up who sets up the double play. But I will say this, lately Starling's been driving the ball a lot more, getting the ball on the line, getting it airborne.
Lefty Tyler Lyons will have an early warm-up here in the first inning.
Castro 333 on the trip, 10 out of 30 with a couple of home runs.
That's that one off himself. Boy, the Cubs would love to do the Friday hold serve in the afternoon and then wait for the other teams to play tonight. And the Pirates would go into their game knowing that if they don't win, they're only 1 game ahead of them for the top wild card spot. And oh, by the way, they've got to face Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw this weekend.
Hang with them.
Starlin asks for time. And here's the 0-1. Drilled into center base hit. Rizzo will score. Listella to third. 3-0. Ball gets away, but Listella was not paying attention.
Oh, man. Felt like I was in the dugout. Listella. Oh, here goes Castro again. He continues his good work. Solid single to center. Yeah, he's going to throw up a stop sign there, but don't quit on the play. Tommy dropped his head, and as that ball came in, it went all the way to the backstop.
Still only 1 out. Bases loaded. 3-0. Here's Dan Herron. He can swing it a little bit. And he lines to Carpenter. Listella, though, got right back to third to avoid the double play. So between outs in this inning, the Fowler ground out and the Herron line out, walk, single, double, walk, single. And they're going to send at least 9 to the plate. Here's Addison Russell.
Oh, and you love to do early damage. You've got a big crowd like this, a very enthusiastic crowd. Stella probably should have scored on the errant throw, but a good job not getting doubled off on that line drive.
Strike to Russell. 2 hits, 2 RBIs, 2 runs, batting 7th yesterday.
Happy birthday. It's not a real hot day, but it's a very muggy day. In a long inning like this, sometimes you find yourself gasping for breath out there.
0-2. Now 1-2. Well, no matter how long or short the start is for Lance Lynn, this first inning is taking a lot of energy. As you mentioned, on this muggy day here at Wrigley. 37th pitch. And he gets Russell. But the Cubs score 3 and lead it 3-0 after an inning. ABC 7 is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Cubs made Lance Lynn throw a career-high 37 pitches in the first inning. Most he's ever thrown in any inning. Johnny Peralta flies to Dexter Fowler. 4 up, 4 down, all in the air. And against Dan Herron, who turned 35 yesterday, and late birthday present. 3 runs in the bottom of the first inning today.
Opening up that box and finding 3 runs.
Steven Piscotty playing left. Matt Holliday and Matt Adams are active. They're on the roster. As we check out the umpires, Dan Bellino with the Loyola Academy in Wilmette. Works home plate. Dreckman, Marquez, and Hallion, the crew chief, on the bases. Adams has started. They both came back from right quad injuries. Matt Holliday has not made any starts since returning. And yeah, they have overcome a lot of adversity in terms of injuries, and these are the most notable ones. They've had others as well. Jaime Garcia. Lynn spent some time on the DL, a strained forearm. And Rizzo can't handle it. Piscotty is aboard. Randall Grichuk with the elbow strain. That'll be an error on Rizzo.
Yeah, he's been charged with a couple errors here recently. It's been a very good year for him defensively. Yeah, you know, the Cardinals, when Adam Wainwright went down early, everybody around baseball said, uh-oh, they won't be able to overcome that. Obviously, they've been the best pitching team in baseball, but just starting to leak a little bit here, as I mentioned, in September. So certainly could have used the big guy.
That one thumped by Colton Wong. Piscotty will easily score. Wong makes his way around second, and that'll be a triple. So the Cardinals kicking up their heels. They have their first hit and first run, and it's unearned. 3-1.
Piscotty, despite reaching out there, did hit the ball sharply, and Wong follows that up with his laser into the gap in right center. There goes Piscotty around to score the Cardinals' first run. And Wong, he can really motor as well. Turning and burning into third. The Cubs will keep the infield back.
So here's Tony Cruz. This is the second consecutive start for Cruz, and it's the second time he's started back-to-back games for Molina this season. The other time it came in late April. And Cardinals doing their best to keep Molina refreshed. He had his first career 4-strikeout game the other night in Milwaukee.
And just 3 out of his last 24. And that's the beauty of having, a semi-comfortable lead. And not only is it the beauty, it's the challenge for a manager to keep his head, realize he's got some older guys that are going to need some time off, and you have to back off the gas pedal with some of these guys. If you're the backup catcher to Molina, you're kind of like the Maytag repairman, right? You don't get called all that often.
Pirates fans scouting this series. Who are they rooting for is the question, or rooting against would be the better way to put it. Cruz is going to knock in Colton Wong. RBI ground out. 3-2 now.
A situation there where Joe Madden might have been tempted to pull the infield in, opted not to. He trades the run for the out. Let's take a look at the Cubs blog on ABC7.com, brought to you by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide agent. He's been serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Santa's in the house.
Brandon Moss snapped an 0 for 24 a couple of nights ago.
I think it's Brandon Moss's presence at the bottom of the order here that led to Joe leaving the infield back. Pull the infield in, obviously you have a chance of cutting that runoff at home, but you enhance the chances of Cruz getting a base hit.
That one lined, and it's fair into the right field corner. Coghlan will retrieve. Moss has a double.
Yeah, and Moss being a power guy, if he knocks one out of the ballpark after Cruz had reached, playing the hypothetical recreated inning scenario. If there's not a power hitter in the 8th spot, Joe may have played it differently.
So here's Lance Lynn. He had a rough ride in the first, gave up 3. Finds himself trailing now by only 1.
He can handle the bat a little bit.
Fowler's got it. Cardinals get 2. Cubs lead by 1 early. ABC7 is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Check out our exciting model lineup by visiting your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer or visit us today at mbusa.com.
Cub fans, final homestand of the season. Limited tickets available for the rest of this weekend series with the Cardinals, but there are some. And then more available with the Brewers. That series starts on Monday. As always, visit Cubs.com for tickets and the latest updates.
Wild start to this one. Cubs sent 9 to the plate, scored 3 in the first inning, and the Cardinals came back 2 unearned runs in the second. 0-2.
When recognizing that he's got to change his pattern a little bit, goes curveball changeup to start Fowler. Getting away from that fastball a little bit.
Topper to the mound. Now Schwarber, he walked and scored the Cubs' first run. Everything else is later tonight around baseball, including the Pirates and Dodgers, Locke and Greinke. Inside for a ball. Astros limping home. They'll host the A's. They just got swept in a big 4-game series at Texas. And all of a sudden find themselves 2.5 games out in the American League West and trying to hang on in the wild card race. Look out, Brandon Hyde. He quickly got out of the way of that screamer.
Yeah, you got to play. You got to play a little deep with Schwarber up there.
The National League wild card standings brought to you by the Bob LaCourcio Auto Group. Giants hosting Arizona. Ruby De La Rosa, Madison Bumgarner scheduled for late tonight.
Pirates will be here next weekend.
That looks like Ryan Dempster. Because it is. With the Let's Play 2 t-shirt on.
I'm sure it's not Chris Denorfia. We'll see if we can get a shot at Denorfia in the dugout to make sure. There's Dempster. There's Denorfia.
Yeah, I see.
Pretty good doppelganger.
Outside. 2-2. Coughlin waits on deck.
Cubs put 17 runs on the board the first 2 games of the series in St. Louis. Start of the last road trip. Won those 2 games, then make a pretty good case that they should have won the 3rd one as well. All 4 of the losses on the road trip, the Cubs surrendered the winning run late. But hard to quibble with 7-4 on the road.
Full count, 3-2.
Really hard because I don't really even know how to quibble.
You probably do, you just don't realize it. In fact, I would guess, without knowing the exact definition of quibbling, that you do it pretty well. Here's Schwarber with his 2nd walk in as many innings.
It could be a petty or carping criticism, a minor objection.
See, minor objection. I think you have minor objections all the time.
An instance of the use of ambiguous, prevaricating, or irrelevant language or arguments to evade a point at issue. I don't even understand that. Yeah.
So you just did it.
Yeah. I just quibbled about the definition of quibble.
Oh, he's got a Seahawks logo cut into his head, shaved into his head in the back.
And then a belly bump just because.
Runner at first, one out, and outside on Coghlan. I referenced this earlier. Two college teammates, Lynn and Coghlan. Zach Cozart was on that Ole Miss team, I think 2006. Moss holds on Schwarber. And here comes a quick throw by Cruz, and Schwarber quickly got back to the bag. Tony Cruz saying, Yadier Molina's not in the lineup, but I'll still fire one down there.
Take me for granted. And that's one of two things. That's a reaction play when a catcher gets an inside fastball with a left-handed hitter up to sneak in and throw behind him. Sometimes you'll call for that pitch up and in, knowing the ball's not going to be put in play if you feel like a guy's getting a very aggressive secondary lead. I don't know if they would do it on 1-0, however, as they did there. So I think it's more of a reaction than a called play that time. Not a bad idea by Cruz, though, to try to pick a guy off and save his pitcher some bullets. Lynn worked so hard in the first inning.
You see he's already up over 50 pitches, and it's 3-1.
I say it all the time. It's not necessarily just a pitch count, but how hard you work in any given inning, or if you have multiple innings where you have to work awfully hard, can lead to a pitcher's demise.
Long will spin to Peralta, double play. That will help Lynn a lot as he was teetering yet again. A 4-6-3 double play to end the inning. 3-2 Cubs. ABC7 is brought to you by the Bob LaCourcio Auto Group. You're going to like buying a car this way. Thanks to Matt Carpenter for stepping out of the box and letting us finish that sponsor read.
He understands how it all works.
One strike on him. Back-to-back 3-hit games in Milwaukee to wrap up that series sweep. Hitting for more home run power, striking out more as a result.
Yeah, there's been an evolution in his game. He's been a real good contact hitter, but he's been willing to sacrifice some of that and swing and miss a little bit more often to try to drive the ball out of the ballpark. And you see the results have been dramatic. 23 home runs. You see what he did the previous 2 seasons. So batting average is down, strikeouts are up, but the production is still very good. Leads their club with 23 home runs and 75 driven in, and he's out of the leadoff spot. He hit 4 home runs in the postseason last year, and I think a little light went off and said, I kind of like doing this.
Called strike 3. First one.
I would bet, as a percentage, the called third strikes on Carpenter are higher than a lot of other guys. Because we see this a lot. He's kind of like Dexter Fowler. He's got a very disciplined eye, knows the strike zone, and doesn't like to expand his zone, and he gets rung up on a lot of borderline pitches.
Pham takes a strike. And quickly comes Heron. That ball hit hard. Nice adjustment, Addison Russell. He made a tricky hop look easy to handle, and it's not.
That's what the best ones do. They make hard plays look easy. It's our Volkswagen defensive play of the game. Boy, he made a couple beauties on the road trip. Young man can flat out play.
Two down. Here's Hayward. He applied the left in the first inning. Hey, he's wearing the Javier Baez face flap. Actually, Hayward's been wearing this one for a while. He got hit in the jaw a couple of years ago. Bobbled by Castro, but plenty of time to recover. And that's that for the Cardinals. They go down quietly, 1-2-3.
Lead to 3-2. Wednesday, the 23rd. Cubs take on the Brewers. It's a night game, 7:05. First pitch. All Budweiser Bleacher fans 21 and over receive a reusable tote bag. Presented by Ornitos. Tickets are still available. Visit Cubs.com.
Great to have you with us today here on ABC 7. Lights are on in this overcast and humid afternoon. Cubs trying for their 4th straight win. Rizzo foul tipped into the glove. He got a hold of one in St. Louis back on May 6th off Lance Lynn. Breaking ball.
Lynn has only allowed 13 home runs this year, so that hasn't been much of an issue.
Cubs are 6-10 against the Cardinals this season. 3-3 at home.
So Madden continues to insist that the Cardinals are not out of reach for the Cubs, and certainly mathematically they are not, but I think it's more about sending a message to his guys that don't make any assumptions, don't settle, keep on pushing.
The wind and the 1-2 is wide.
The Cardinals in a comfortable position, but again, anything can happen. We've seen epic collapses this late in the season before.
Because this is the last series between these two clubs, if the Cubs do have their sights on first, they really have to sweep. And you're not thinking that way if you're Joe, you're just thinking win today. But yeah, if you're 4 games back with 2 weeks to go, absolutely you've got a shot. The way this division is played this year, JD, it would not be, or should say, it would be totally appropriate if these 3 teams finish with the same record. Right?
Yeah, that would be fitting, wouldn't it?
Not likely to happen, but it's too bad that somebody's going to get knocked out, obviously in the wild card, and then another team in the division series, the way the standings look. Rizzo into right, and it'll get down all the way to the wall. Hayward will pick it up. It's a double.
Well, last couple games of the road trip, he started to pick it up, so you knew there was a good run coming, and 2 out of 2 here today. RBI single in the first, leadoff double here in the third. Hands in, drops that shoulder, keeps the bat level through the strike zone. That's when we talk about hitters being long through the zone. Rizzo's a good example of that.
Really good list. And all those guys will get MVP consideration, some more than others, as you handicapped it on our pregame coverage. Probably Bryce Harper right now, and then I think Rizzo and Goldschmidt right behind.
Yes, some great performances this year. Joey Votto put up crazy good numbers.
Well, you mentioned the win probability added and the fact that Rizzo's going to be on a playoff team. I got it. I got it. I gave way to you, JD. That's it. Nicely done.
Me and Peter. Peter Chase made a big one on the last homestand.
Stella, foul.
He was much more humble about his. He acted like he'd been there before.
Yeah, you sold it.
Sorry, you called me off, and I
no, you know what?
It was the ball.
If there's an invisible line in our booth, I would say it's right here. It was the ball ended up right here, so I had to let you take it. Came in hot though.
So we never get a ball up here.
Very rarely. But right off the bat, I think we both knew it was coming in the booth. We had eyes. So where were we? Oh, it's 0-2. Lance Lynn is not long for this day. It doesn't appear. He faced the minimum in the second, but he walked Schwarber, got behind Coghlan, and eventually on a hard hit one hopper got a double play ball. And this maybe a little stall tactic here as Cruz takes a slow walk out to the mound.
Yeah, there comes a point when a guy's really laboring as a manager, even if you feel like he's got a chance to get things turned around, you feel maybe it's just not worth it. He's really pushing hard out there, and maybe you're better off shutting him down and letting him regroup for the next one. So start your morning routine with Chicago's most watched news, ABC 7 News. News in the morning, weekdays with Judy Sue and Terrell Brown, Roz Varon, and Tracy Butler. I messed up your name, Roz. I apologize.
0-2 on La Stella. Outside. The Society for American Baseball Research, they once in a while they release their defensive index rankings. They have this as part of the Gold Glove ballot. And you are now a plus on the SDI list.
I'm up there?
Yeah, you're a +1. You had one chance and you made it. Route efficiency 99.7% according to StatCast.
I just hope I don't get any more. I prefer to sit on that record.
The kick, the 1-2, way outside. Breaking ball got away from Lynn.
Yeah, and talk about how fastball centric his approach is, but after that first inning, he's tried to mix in more breaking balls and changeups, but you can see he's having a hard time with the grip. It's really muggy here today, and constantly trying to wipe his hand.
Popped up toward the bullpen, and it's Carpenter to make the catch. Well, Estella made him work for that out. 7-pitch sequence. Here comes Montero. Well, we have a moment. We want to send our condolences to the family of Brian Halm, lifelong Cub fan who passed away unexpectedly over the weekend. So our thoughts and prayers with Gina, his wife, and their 5-year-old son, Matthew. Runner at second, 1 out. Cubs leading 3-2. A foul strike.
Montero shaded just a little bit the other way in the outfield. Pham cheating a little bit towards left center. We've seen Montero do a lot of damage to left field.
Got a Twitter controversy because I officially called for it. They're saying that I should have made the catch, but
As I said, I apologize for encroachment.
I thought it was good teamwork because I could see you had a better beat on it than I did.
It's one of those plays where we talk about it in the outfield afterwards.
Swing and a miss for strike 3. 2 outs, and it'll be Castro who knocked in a run in the first inning.
That's that fastball I was talking about earlier in the game with Lynn. That one at 94, but even when it's not 94, if it's 91, 92, kind of works under the ball, gets a lot of backspin, and what hitters refer to as the invisible, a pitch they feel like they're on, but he'll get a lot of swing throughs or lazy pop-ups on it.
Castro will get an intentional walk with the pitcher Heron on deck. Tell you what, Lynn, those 2 pitches are not that far off the plate. This is what Castro did to him in the first inning. And a pitch over the plate. Out of that 3-run frame.
Yeah, and if it's within reach, Castro certainly capable of putting it in play.
There's ball 4.
Heron hit the ball right on the screws in his at-bat, lined out to third.
Now the lefty Lions just holding a ball, watching the action. Not in the bullpen.
Breeze has picked up some. Feels like it's turned around a little bit too.
Peralta will pick it up. Little flip to Wong at second base. And one of the best ovations we've seen today was from my partner on that great foul ball catch. 3-2 after 3. On ABC 7 is brought to you by DeVry University. Different on purpose.
1 week from tomorrow, that would be the 26th. Cubs Pirates, first pitch at 12:05, and the first 10,000 fans here at the ballpark will receive a Chris Bryant debut bobblehead presented by TransUnion. For more information, visit Cubs.com. Nice little trinket, the likely rookie of the year.
Johnny Peralta, 0 for 1. An all-star this year for the third time in his career. But if you look at the month-to-month numbers for Peralta, a little alarming. As he drives that ball to right, Coughlin's back. He's got it right up against the door for the out. Yeah, Peralta's average has gone down every month. And he gave that one a ride. Here's Piscotty. Not sure when Matt Holliday will get back in their lineup as a starter. Right now he's simply a pinch hitter and then would have to be removed for a pinch runner. But he does not want to play defense again until he's sure he's not going to re-injure that quad that has put him on the DL twice. And that again goes back to you've got a little bit of a, you're going to make the playoffs.
Right.
Got a little bit of a cushion.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to blow it out again.
Right. Got to make sure he's as ready to go for the postseason as possible. He's been doing some hard running in the outfield. I guess apparently, he runs pregame and feels pretty good, but a lot of times it'll tighten up the next day.
That ball didn't even land in the upper deck, and my partner looked at it like it was all his. With that improved range factor. 2-2 on the rookie Piscotty. Here it is.
A cup of Joe for Joe, perhaps. Early start.
Ooh, good pitch. Swing and a miss for strike 3.
The splitter usage has gone up for Dan since joining the Cubs. I mean, it's always been a big pitch for him, but he wasn't using it a whole lot this year. And it's maybe because of Montero. They were teammates in Arizona. Montero may have impressed upon him the need to throw that pitch.
Colton Wong with an RBI triple and a run in the second. He did not start against the Cubs in that series in St. Louis last week. One pinch hit appearance. He had a left calf strain.
There's a lot to like about Wong. Not a real big guy, but he is put together. He's very strong. He can run.
In the air, left center. Fowler. Right on the edge of the track, makes the catch. Cardinals go down 1-2-3 for their third time in the first 4 innings. ABC7 is brought to you by U.S. Waterproofing. Visit seepage.com or call 888-SEEPAGE for a free consultation. U.S. Waterproofing, a better basement starts with us. (3-2). Cubs got their 3 in the first. Cardinals 2 unearned markers in the second. Here's Addison Russell in the fourth. Starting pitching terms, it would feel like a minor miracle if Lance Lynn gets through 6 innings today. Tyler Lyons is up again in the bullpen. Russell sends one in the air the other way, and it'll be Jason Hayward.
He's not going to get through the 4th inning.
That's it.
Well, Mike Matheny's coming out, and he's bringing the pitching coach and the trainer with him.
He's already made the call. He told the bullpen he wants Lyons.
Didn't see anything there. He had whacked in the ankle earlier this year.
I thought Matheny had made the call, but apparently he did.
I think
not.
he was pointing down the dugout to the trainer, because he and the pitching coach came up one set of stairs, and I think he pointed to the trainer and said, "Come on out, let's go and have a chat with him." Fowler and then the lefties coming up. He's got lines ready to go, so probably just going hitter by hitter here anyway. Looking for a little honesty from his guy, saying, don't stay out here if you're hurting. Apparently Lynn said, no, I'm good to go. I don't know what Mike saw that, caused him to go out there, because when we replayed that final pitch, I didn't see anything.
I mean, maybe just a little bit of the reaction is that it was very subtle. Kind of tucked that arm toward his side, but you're right, it was not anything obvious. 1-0 on Fowler.
So nothing you probably don't react to unless you've had an ongoing conversation. If you've been a little tender lately, and maybe didn't feel all that good during his side session between starts.
He thought that was a strike. It was not, according to Dan Bellino.
Guide that two-seamer to the outside corner. It was a little bit off. It's the kind of pitch when it's hot and muggy and you've been knocked around a little bit, sweating bullets out there, you're hoping to get a call.
He walked him.
That's going to do it.
That will do it. It's a 6th walk. 5th of the unintentional variety, and done for the day. And here comes Tyler Lyons.
He's already pitched a couple innings out there in the pen today.
Call to the bullpen. It'll be left-hander Tyler Lyons. Lance Lynn with a career-high 6 walks in this game. And as Lyons started his warm-up and Lynn was already in the Cardinal dugout, he started screaming at the home plate umpire Dan Bellino. This was the pitch he really wanted and didn't get.
Yeah, that ball was off the outside corner, and even if it was on it, I mean, nothing egregious. A lot of frustration bubbling up here for Lynn this afternoon.
Ended up heading out and having a short conversation with the plate umpire. Fowler at first, 1 out, and it's Lyons against Schwarber. Here we go. Ball 1.
Finesse type left-hander has made 7 starts for the Cardinals this year. This is his 6th appearance out of the bullpen.
.6'4", 200 pounds. Tyler Lyons. Schwarber fouls.
Lou Sparingly has not pitched in over 10 days. Last pitched against the Cubs in St. Louis on the 7th. And that was the Lynn game back in St. Louis.
One and two. You mentioned the wind has shifted, and right now not doing much. Cubs have been a running team this year. Fifth in the National League. 87 steals. This would be their highest National League ranking since 1990. 2-2. Foul. And Schwarber had that one come in on him. Just tried to fight it off. Fowler goes. Called strike 3. The throw late.
Pretty good throw by Cruz on a breaking ball. Made it close. And Fowler got a pretty nice jump off the lefty. Going on first move. Just in there ahead of the tag. Cardinals are taking a moment to review, but I don't think they will challenge based on what we just saw.
Definitely got in, and Austin Jackson will hit for Chris Coghlan in the 4th inning. This is a September move, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm guessing it's a move that Chris Coghlan is not real happy about.
Jorge Soler activated yesterday off the DL. Not quite sure what Joe's plans will be for him coming back from the oblique. 1 ball, 1 strike. A long day for Lance Lynn. He faced 19 batters over 3 1/3 and had to make 83 pitches. And if you just kind of watched the Cubs' offensive innings against Lynn today, you would kind of assume this is a blowout. It's 3-2.
Yeah. It's, a couple days ago in Pittsburgh, the game took on that field. Did some damage early, but you felt like he could have had a lot more, or at least some more. And that's probably why Joe has chosen to pinch hit here with Jackson, doing everything he can to keep pushing.
Rizzo on deck. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
And that's the other thing about it. When you get into September with all the available arms in the bullpen, any move you make late in the game to pinch hit, the other manager can counter, so you lose that platoon advantage. So here's one situation where Joe knew he was going to get a right-handed hitter against this lefty.
Another walk. It's the 7th walk issued by Cardinal pitching.
Yeah, that's hate to say it because we're way too punny up here sometimes, but that's a Cardinal sin to walk Jackson in front of Rizzo here.
Rizzo heating up again. Already a go-ahead single and a double. Did commit an error, leading to the Cardinals 2 unearned runs. 2 men on, 2 down for Rizzo here in the 4th. It's taken low, ball 1.
Rizzo's mindset right now is this guy can't beat me with his fastball. He can't throw the ball by me.
And he just got hit to load the bases. '28 hit by pitches leading the majors for Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah. And we talked about Lynn having a hard time with the breaking pitch. You see Lyons there trying to spin that curveball and just never finished it. Scored it out of his hand. That's one of the easier hit by pitches for Rizzo this year. Slow breaking ball. And if Joe wanted to, if he was into theatrics, boy, if he sent Chris Bryant out of the dugout for this at bat, this place would have gone nuts.
Stella takes the at bat and looks at ball 1. Bases loaded. No hits in the inning. 2 walks and a hit batter.
And Stella's the type of hitter who hangs in there well against lefties. So I'm not advocating for Bryant here, but it would have been fun just to see the crowd respond.
Rizzo already with a modern day club record. So every time he gets hit, he just adds to that. We may have to check on the last 30 guy. 30 homers, 30 hit by pitches.
Don Baylor comes to mind as a candidate.
1-1.
Especially with a left-handed pitcher on the mound, the Cardinals really now shifting in the outfield. La Stella towards left. Scotty over towards the line, and Pham shifting further towards the alley in left center. And Hayward and Wright well off the line.
1-2 the count. Here it is. 2-2. Seth Manus, sinker baller up for the Cards. Rolled on the ground. Wong at second. Beats Moss, and that will end the inning. Cubs don't score. They have stranded 8 through 4, leading 3-2. Fan cam. America runs on Duncan. Hopefully the teacher
not anymore
wasn't watching that particular segment, but we hope everybody else was. And a reminder, America runs on Duncan. So Jackson in to play right. 1 strike on Tony Cruz. Up and in. Cruz drove in the Cardinal second run with a ground out to plate Wong in the second.
Okay. Works for you.
Be a fan of Los Straitjackets. You seen those guys?
No, I have
Great
not.
surf band. Yeah, they wear the wrestling masks. Two-1 is hit in the air to left. Schwarber. He's camped and he's got it.
Watch your team at 10 with Ron Majors, Kathy Brock, Cheryl Burton, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Taft, and sports from Mark Greco, only ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So here's Moss. We think the only 30-30 guy, 30 homers, 30 hit by pitches, was Don Baylor for the 86 Red Sox. 31 home runs, 35 hit by pitches. Moss sends that one deep to right, and it is right at the base of the wall. It hits the warning track, and he's got a double. Tying run in scoring position for Matt Holliday, who will hit in the pitcher's spot. Moss 2 for 2, 2 doubles out of the 8th spot.
Yeah, and we mentioned it the first time he came up there. It's a pretty dangerous bat lurking at the bottom of the order. He hasn't hit for much average, but this is a guy who's a pretty good pedigree as a power hitter. Other than 30 home runs in a season type guy. Bullpen gets busy for the Cubs again. And Roskup, who was up earlier, is back up. And it looks like joined by Tommy Hunter.
So Holiday missed 31 games middle of the year. Oh, he just got hit in the helmet.
That's unsettling for everybody. Holiday looks to be okay. And he'd probably come out for a pinch runner anyway, so they just walked him down to first base. Joe Madden's going to make a move here as well.
Pete Kozma will run for Holiday. And that will be it for Dan Herron. It will be Zach Rosscup against Matt Carpenter when we come back. And it is left-hander Zach Rosscup. The hitter is Matt Carpenter. Moss at second. Pinch runner Pete Kozma's at first. A one-run ball game.
Rosscup, third stint with the Cubs this year, 2-1 with a 3.91 and a bunch of time on the DL. He's made 3 appearances since being recalled this last go-around on September 7th.
This could be a one-batter and done. Tommy Hunter is up with Pham on deck. Ball one.
And then Hayward, a left-handed hitter to follow Pham. So depending on how Joe wants to play it.
Hopefully Matt Holliday is okay. Lifted for a pinch runner, as he probably would have been anyway with the quad issue. That's high, 2-0. Rosscup to the plate, and he missed again. 3-0. Aaron went 4 1/3 so far, charged with 2 unearned runs. On the corner. Ross Cup made his major league debut in 2013. A couple of months on the DL this year with left shoulder inflammation. And the bases are loaded.
Yeah, it looks a little tentative releasing that baseball right now. A little look of frustration on the face of Joe Madden there. Didn't really like the approach against Carpenter. Pham doesn't have the resume as a lot of these other Cardinal hitters, but he's really been swinging it well lately. Hit the ball very hard last time up. Madison Russell made a real nice play on him.
Pham missed the first 2 months with a left quad strain. Seems to be the injury of the year for the Cardinals.
Yeah, normally you don't think of muscle strains as being contagious. But they've had a bunch of them. Zach can work up in the strike zone with his fastball, but he's got to get ahead first.
Well, we've had some scary situations here these last couple of days. The Gong injury in Pittsburgh. Holiday got beamed here today. And Tommy Pham last night in Milwaukee hit a ball that was registered at 108 miles an hour off the bat off the right side of Jimmy Nelson's head. And at last check, no fractures, a contusion for Nelson. And Pham and the Cardinals and everybody in the ballpark, they forgot about baseball as Nelson was down for a while. Fortunately got up and walked off under his own power.
And that's one of those where I think that the new padded cap might have paid off.
That's a strike. Good visit. 1-1. Tough spot here. Bases loaded. Only one out. 1-2. Hayward on deck.
That was huge there to be able to find the strike zone with that breaking ball and give Pham something else to think about. Now you might be able to get him to chase that letter high fastball. Trying to bury a breaking pitch. It's pretty much what you're going to see from Ross Cup. Fastball 92 to 95. And that slider.
Ross Cup now with a 2-2 to Pham, and he pulled it foul. We already knew tomorrow was going to be a bullpen day for the Cubs. No scheduled or listed starter. And with a short outing by Dan Herron today, 4 1/3, this becomes a bullpen day. Cubs have had some short starts here lately. Aside from Lester and Arrieta. Another one bounced in front of the plate. A goalie blocked by Montero. 3-2.
That's 3 consecutive sliders now. They're trying to get him to chase that one down in the dirt.
Fans for both teams into it here. Nowhere to put him. The 3-2. Ball 4, and we're tied. Ross Cup comes in and walks Carpenter and then Pham. And it's 3-3.
Sometimes as a pitcher, once you've gone 3 consecutive breaking balls, you don't get to swing and miss. And if you're going to come back with a fastball, sometimes it's tough to trust throwing that pitch in the strike zone. You feel like the guy's probably at that point sitting fastball. Ross Cup's got enough velocity typically where he can compete with that heater. He's going for the chase upstairs, and Pham showing good discipline. Well, it wasn't particularly close, not close enough to get him to bite.
Jason Hayward takes a strike. Take away a lot of his slugging by making him hit against a lefty. And the 0-1.
Very good numbers against righties, not so much against left-handed pitching.
Swing and a miss, strike 3 for out number 2, and that'll be it for Ross Cup. Here comes Joe.
Not even close. Hayward anxious with the bases loaded. Waves at it.
So he'll give way to Tommy Hunter, who will face Johnny Peralta in a tight spot. Throwing right-hander Tommy Hunter is in. Dan Bellino walked out to the mound before he threw his first warm-up toss. I didn't see warnings issued, but I think warnings were issued to both teams after the Holiday hit by pitch.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, and I'm surprised if they were. I don't understand why you issue a warning, but I mean, the guy gets hit in the head, it really gets your attention, and you tend to react to it, and there's a hostile environment with the Cubs and the Cardinals and all that, but clearly there was no intention on the part of Herron.
So 2 outs, bases loaded. The tying run is in. And Peralta takes ball 1.
It's a tough assignment for Tommy Hunter coming in against a dangerous hitter with the bases loaded, and he hasn't been out there since September 4th against the Diamondbacks.
Found Peralta with a big home run in this ballpark back in July off Pedro Strop. 2-out, 2-run shot. As the Cardinals stole a 6-5 win. One and one on him. 1-2.
What was Joe's line after that one? They stole one from us. The other night we stole one from somebody else. That happens throughout the summer.
You just hope to steal more than you give up.
Steal more than the other guy.
Hosmer at third, Carpenter at second, Pham at first. The pitch in the air, shallow right. It'll be Jackson to make the grab, and that'll end the inning. Cardinals do tie it. It's 3-3 in the fifth. Brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Meet your favorite Cub players and alumni at the 2016 Cubs Convention. It will take place January 15th through the 17th at the Sheraton Chicago Hotel and Towers. Hotel packages and weekend passes are on sale now. Visit Cubs.com/convention and get your passes before they sell out.
Seth Maness, the right-hander working for the visitors.
A lot of times Mike Matheny likes to bring Maness in with a man or two on looking for that ground ball double play because he is a ground ball machine. Here he'll start the fifth clean.
And Montero greets him with a solid base hit. Hayward plays pretty deep out there in right, but no chance for Montero to think two. Bring up Castro.
So normally this is hit and run time for Joe.
Yeah, you've got ground ball pitcher, ground ball hitter.
You did it the other day with Montero. Montero would be a little bit of a mitigating factor because it doesn't run particularly well, but they did it. I think it was in the ball game yesterday. Montero ended up being credited with a stolen base.
Chris Bryant on deck in the pitcher's spot. Ball one to Castro.
And the other reason you might not run is Castro's been driving the ball a lot more lately. If you're going to do it, 1-0 would be a good time. Cardinals not likely to pitch out here.
Swing and a drive. Deep left center. Way back and gone. Two-run homer. Starlin Castro.
As I mentioned, he's been driving the ball a lot better lately. No doubt about it. The sinker baller didn't get much sink. A little run on that two-seam fastball. As we take a look at the Toyota home run cam, Castro unloads, lean back, and watch it fly. A wedding present from Starlin.
They've got the lead again, 5-3, and Jorge Soler now will take the at bat instead of Bryant.
Man, what a resurgence for Starlin Castro.
And the Cubs now at home as Soler swings and misses. Have a 16-game home run streak, 40 homers over their last 16 here at Wrigley Field.
What'd you get for a wedding present? Well, we got a toaster and some nice silver and a Starlin Castro home run ball. Candlesticks would be nice.
Inside, 2-1. Now 2-2.
Understandable that Soler would be a little anxious here. First big league AB in a while.
422 feet on that home run. And Soler strikes out. It's Russell. Sinker strike, bottom of the zone. That's where Manus tries to live. It's like Justin Grimm will be next in the 6th.
Yeah, and at this point, even though you know you're going with the bullpen, the Johnny Holstaff game tomorrow, you don't worry so much about that right now. You're doing whatever you can to win this game this afternoon.
Three and one. In the air out into right center. And it's Pham in front of Hayward. 2 outs.
Now, how you manage tomorrow's game will be dictated by how you use that bullpen today. Maybe you ask a little bit more out of a pitcher or two tomorrow than you anticipated.
We may see all those guys these next couple of days.
John Noble might get an inning or two.
Waka against JW tomorrow. Carlos Martinez, John Lester. Should be a fun one on Sunday.
Changeups that Manus is flipping up there at 84. Throws his fastball 89, 90. The sinking action like that, yeah, and that's what makes him so effective. The changeup comes out of his hand, looks very much like the sinker. 5 or 6 miles an hour slower.
Three and one. Here it comes. Fowler has walked twice. He's been an on-base machine here in the second half. Schwarber has not yet put a ball in play. 2 walks and a strikeout looking. got to play third base side. Cubs led 3-0. Cardinals came back to tie it. And Starlin Castro with a go-ahead 2-run shot. One and one.
Eight walks issued by Cardinal pitching here this afternoon. Only in the 5th inning.
4th time they've done that this year. 2-1. Cubs season high in walks taken, 9. Good hard on the ground, but Wong goes down to a knee, and that will end the inning. A resurgent Starlin Castro. And a 2-run no-doubter, and the Cubs lead 5-3. ABC 7 is brought to you by Toyota. See where Toyota takes you. Test drive one at your Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
Hey, don't forget to check out the Cubs blog on abc7.com. Brought to you by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide agent, serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side.
Sun may be creeping through the clouds for the first time. It's Justin Grimm. This is Stephen Piscotty, ball one.
He's had his struggles of late, primarily walks. He's been a little spotty, but overall a very good year for Grimm. He's pitched to a 2.18 ERA, sub 2 for most of the year.
1-1 the count. Cardinals have the best record in baseball, best road mark. Find themselves down by 2 here. Clinched the season series, winning 10 of the first 16. The Cubs, though, with 10 wins, have clinched the season series against the Pirates, and that could loom large if they tie for the wild card. Ground ball. Russell out at first.
Watch him play. Just watch this kid play the position. Second sparkling play here this afternoon. He was on that in no time. Watch him go. But he's so quick. You know, he's not a real fast runner, but he's got very quick actions and quick reactions.
Swing and a miss by Wong. Yeah, if you look at the metrics and all the defensive numbers that are out there to be dissected and what have you, Addison Russell's been the Cubs' best defensive player, and there really shouldn't be much of an argument.
Yeah, and just with the eye test, watching him play, he passes that.
Grimm's 0-2. This is up and in. And the thing about Addison, 21 years old, we've seen definite improvements here in the second half with the bat, but he does not project to be an all-glove, no-bat shortstop at all.
No.
There's a lot more in that bat. And a rookie hitting just .240. And again, just 21 years old. The 3-2. Swing and a miss. Actually a foul tip. Same difference. Strike three.
Great curveball from Grimm. His best pitch. He's got a plus heater too, but that curveball is his best weapon. Sometimes he gets in trouble when his front side he leaks a little bit. He'll kind of pull off towards first base, and that curveball won't be quite as sharp here. Looks like he's doing a real nice job staying close and really getting on top, so he gets that good 12-6 break on it.
Tony Cruz swings and misses. I mentioned he's kind of like the Maytag repairman. This is his 56th game, 5th year in the major leagues, and already a career high. Just not going to play a lot behind Yadier Molina unless he gets hurt. 0-2. Place is jammed today. Very patriotic looking crowd. A lot of blue, a lot of white, a lot of red.
It would make for a very good puzzle.
Oh yeah, Wrigley Field puzzle. I like it. You have a lot of good ideas. We've got you make the call game.
We have a lot of time to think.
We never develop.
No, we never go beyond the throwing it out there.
Swing and a miss on the curve. 2-strikeout inning for Justin Grimm. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Cubs lead the Cards 5-3. Seth Banis against Austin Jackson. And I think we're going to see Randy Choate after this at bat with Anthony Rizzo on deck. Banis gave up the Castro 2-run homer to put the Cubs back on top. Ground ball, base hit into center. Jackson's been on both times, a walk and a base hit. And here comes Mike Matheny.
He wants the veteran sidewinder Choate to deal with Rizzo here.
So 1 on, nobody out, bottom 6. Cubs leading 5-3. ESPN 1000 game summary. Moss 2 for 2, 2 doubles out of the H spot. Anthony Rizzo coming up again. Already has 2 hits. Starlin Castro also 2 for 2. Lefty lefty. Choate Rizzo. Randy Choate turned 40 earlier this month. Native of San Antonio, Texas. Went to Florida State. Got drafted back in 1997 by the Yankees. Been doing this a long time.
Debuted with the Yankees in 2000. This is his 3rd year with the Cardinals.
His 669th career appearance. He has just over 400 innings of work.
Yeah, he's a loogie. Left-handed, 1-out only guy. Would be the acronym.
Good lead by Jackson. Here's a pitch. Swing and a miss on a breaker.
An ideal situation for him to come in with these left-handers stacked together in the batting order for the Cubs today. That old Jeff Foxworthy bit, you might be a redneck if.
Right.
You might be a loogie if you've pitched 67 times in a season for a total of 26 2/3 innings. It marks you as a specialist.
Popped up by Rizzo. And it's caught by Wong in the grass in right. Chris Bryant for La Stella.
And that will spell the end of Choate's day's work. But the righty out there, Cishek, was the opposite version.
Let's play the match game. Another pitching change here in the 6th.
About Chicago's most watched local talk show, Windy City Live, weekdays at 11 only on ABC 7.
And it's a USO call to the bullpen. Steve Cishek, former Marlin, is on, facing pinch hitter Chris Bryant.
Take Choate, make him a little younger, a lot younger, a fair bit taller, put him in a mirror, and you get Steve Cishek, right-handed version with that drop-down delivery.
Took a while to get to that mirror, but
and not quite as funky as Choate.
And ball one. Jackson, the runner at first. He led off the inning with a single. That was against Manus. Choate got Rizzo. And Cishek versus Bryant.
Cishek, excuse me, really struggled earlier this year with the Marlins, was demoted for a short time. Numbers far better with the Cardinals than they were with the Marlins. 56 ERA with St. Louis. 4.5 while with the Fish.
230 save seasons. 34 in 2013. Last year 39.
Ryan can get that low ball in the air. The challenge for a right-handed hitter, of course, against Cishek with that drop-down deliveries, keep that front side in.
Jackson runs. Bryant bounces to third. Carpenter makes the play. 2 outs.
The old adage is that first 6 innings of the game belong to the players, and from the 7th inning on it becomes a manager's game. But you know, you're in September playing these meaningful games, and the managers have been wheeling and dealing early on in this one. I guess it's 2 things. One, it's obviously a very important game, and 2, with expanded rosters, you can do it. You can make those moves to the bench and the bullpen earlier and still have plenty of options.
1-0 on Montero. The kick, the pitch, 2-0. Cishek from Falmouth, Massachusetts, went to Carson Newman College. Cy Young candidate Jake Arrieta.
Maybe in pitch around mode here with Montero.
Well, the guy on deck just gave the Cubs the lead with the 2-run homer. That's Castro.
Clearly wasn't pitch around. It was a challenge fastball. And maybe more than Tony Cruz wanted. And he's going to have a word with Cishek here. I'm sure they're on the same page as exactly how aggressive they want to be with Montero. There's a different look to the hitter, doesn't it?
Missed again, 3-1. Three and two.
I think you wanted to take a big bite of that one. Did he unload?
Long look by Cishek. Full count on Montero. The pitch. He walked him.
That makes 9. Mercedes drive of the game. Starlin Castro. Bottom of the 5th. A no doubt blast. Flopping along. I expect to see trying to stay away from Castro here. Now Cishek, unlike Choate's, 84, 85. Cishek gets a little more on that fastball from that sidearm delivery than many guys do. He'll go 91, 92. But the runner back in towards Castro can be a dangerous pitch.
And he drives one to left. Way back. It is out of here. 3-run homer. And he's driven in 6.
My, oh my. Well, they tried a slide ball and it stayed in or third, and that's a dangerous spot for Starlin Castro when he's locked in. Good things happen for the Cubs.
Good call.
Oh boy, that's a great swing. Man, this has been impressive to watch this kid turn it around. Fans want a curtain call.
His 10th home run. So that's 5 straight seasons, double digits in home runs. Javi Baez, base hit off the bench.
That ball was blistered. Oh, man, they're putting on a clinic here.
So the 6 knocked in ties his career high. That was his major league debut, right?
Yep.
So coming full circle today. 3 hits in the ball game, 975 in his major league career. All right, tell us what's going to happen in this at bat. Well, you're all over it today. Catching foul balls as Baez ran. That ball fouled off the catcher Cruz. Eight to 3. Former Cub Miguel Sokolovic up in the visitors' bullpen, outside, 3-1.
Well, whether it was, a John Maley suggestion, Starlin just making some mechanical tweaks, whatever it was, it's been a heck of a fix.
10 walks taken by Cubs batters today.
Aggressive swing by Castro. Again, so much of the summer falling off the ball and pulling off, rolling over on it. Up and through. Just more authoritative. Just really getting after it here lately.
That will be it for Cishek.
Well, when the other team walks 10, you have to win, right?
Yeah, I would think you don't lose many when you take 10 walks.
Yeah, we might have to filter that through the Google machine and see what the Major League team's record is. The history of the sport, teams walking 10 guys and still manage to win a ball game in a 9-inning ball game. But can't be very often.
Sokolovic coming on. 8-3 Cubs in the 6th.
But first we got to get Pittsburgh, and then we got to go after them. I don't want anybody just thinking, "Oh, let's just make the playoffs. Let's just be a wild card team." I don't want that thought at all. That's the kind of thought that gets you in trouble. You just keep shooting for the top ladder, rung on the ladder. That's what you keep going for, and that's what I want our focus to be. And if you talk to everybody in that room, I'm certain you're going to get the same response from them.
Well, going back the last half decade, the Cubs have played the Cardinals very tough here at Wrigley Field. Cardinals have been a lot better team over this stretch. Prior to this season, it has been a while since we've had a late September matchup between the Cardinals and the Cubs, and both teams in playoff contention. Swing and a miss by Dexter Fowler.
Kind of fun, isn't it?
Yep, Sokolovic, the new Cardinal pitcher.
Starts him with a changeup, and that's maybe his best pitch. That was a good one. He goes fastball 89, 92, slider and a change. He's pitched well for St. Louis, a 1.71 ERA. Cubs scored 9 yesterday in Pittsburgh on 17 hits. Getting after it again here today.
One and two.
It was Fowler's 5th plate appearance. We're in the 6th inning.
Cubs have now put up at least 8 runs in 3 of their last 4 against the Cardinals. You mentioned the pretty high team ERA here in September for a team leading the way in the majors.
Yeah, and, you know, and they haven't really been that good of an offensive club all year. The pitching has led the way. They're first in the league in ERA, first in starters, first in bullpen ERA, but they've struggled here in September, and that has to create a little concern in the Cardinal camp.
And Hallion said he held up. 3-2.
Gave Michael Walker extra rest earlier this month. Same with Lance Lynn.
Runners go on the 3-2. Popped up. Foul ground. And it'll be Wong taking it right near the tarp to end the inning. Starlin Castro's been the offensive hero today. Go ahead 2-run homer in the 5th, a 3-run shot here in the 6th. ABC is a proud partner of the USO of Illinois, supporting local troops and their families for nearly 75 years.
The most popular way to follow the Cubs' push to the postseason is with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat now.
Pedro Strop in to pitch. Chris Bryant playing third. Javier Baez is at second, but we're all mixed up out there in the shift. Addison Russell, the only guy on the left side of the second base. And Strop faces Brandon Moss.
Joe, 3.05 ERA, works for the 71st time. Slider catches the outside part of the plate. Grimm, 3 up, 3 down with a couple of strikeouts. Strop looking to exercise some demons against the Cardinals. He has a 15.19 ERA against St. Louis this year.
Call strike 3 on a quick pitch from Strop to get Moss.
It's a good start. Leaning heavily on the slider, punches out Moss, who had 2 doubles. Pedro's pitched 9 times against St. Louis this year, 5 1/3 innings, 9 earned runs, a couple of home runs. We saw that big one that Peralta hit here back in July.
Pinch hitter Greg Garcia takes ball 1. Waiting for Sokolovic. We're going to see a lot of the Cardinal bullpen today. We've already seen Lyons, Manus, Choate, Cishek, and Sokolovic. Matt Belisle is next. Ground ball the other way and took a squirrely hop on Chris Bryant. Bounds into left center.
Yeah, I would rule that a bad hop base hit. He's well positioned to make a play and it just jumped on him.
Is a single for Garcia.
Of course, there's the other argument that says, well, big league players are supposed to catch bad hops.
That was particularly bad on the hop.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't look as bad in slow motion as it did in real time.
Carpenter 0 for 2. He walked his last time up. No batting gloves. Good grip with that pine tar up the handle. And missed the target by about a foot at least. 2-0.
A little bit reminiscent of Schwarber, isn't he? In the box, slightly open stance, lays that bat back on his shoulder, pretty quiet.
Yeah, that's a good comp, although Schwarber looks like he's poised to hit the ball 1,000 feet. Carpenter looks like he's going to send one out toward the gap, maybe a single or a double.
Yeah, there's different body types and a little different swing, but it
worked well for him.
The setup, there are similarities. And Carpenter's bigger. He's listed at 6'3". He's slightly built, but strong hands.
Two and one. Trevor Cahill just starting to play catch in the Cubs bullpen.
Cahill, one of those guys you thought might be in play to start the ball game tomorrow. And again, I think Joe's mindset is let's win this one, and we'll figure out tomorrow.
Still 2-2.
Yesterday is dead and gone. Tomorrow's out of sight. Help me make it through the night. That Joe, you probably go down there and sing that to his guys in the bullpen.
Yeah. See the available pitchers list and you see slashes. That means it's September. They're trying to fit everybody on that card. Swing and a miss, strike three. Came all the way back. Down 2-0 to start it. Was that a split? Or?
Yeah, it was a split.
Wow, that's why Pedro, I think, had that look. Okay. It's a new wrinkle.
Yeah, because sometimes he'll get a little higher on his slider and soften it a little bit. But that was clearly a split. There's the slider.
One and one to Pham.
Nice to have a third option, right? Especially against these teams within the division that you see so often.
Just to get it on the scouting report certainly is nice. Probably not a pitch you would see in a big spot, but man, leading by 5 here.
I think if he has confidence in it against left-handed hitters, I think it'd be a real nice play for him because he throws so many sliders.
Well, he's got the 83 to 86, and he's got the 95 96. That splitter fits nicely right there in the middle. Pulled on the ground. Russell will get it to Baez at second, and it is time for the Mercedes-Benz 7th inning stretch. Harry Carey on the big board today.
Please direct your attention to the left field video board.
All right. Let me hear you. Good and loud. On 1, on 2, on 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Oh, it's root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey! Boy, you never said better in your life.
Matt Belisle to Kyle Schwarber.
Lyle's been around a long time. 31 appearances this year and a 2.90 ERA.
He's had some DL time. Right elbow inflammation. Back about a week ago. 3-0. All the energy in this ballpark. Harry do the stretch. Three and 1. 40,846, the paid crowd.
Sitting dead red, didn't get it.
3-2.
It's Belisle's first year with the Cardinals. Started with the Reds back in 03.
Swing and a miss. It's out number 1.
Stay ahead of the weather with Chicago's first alert weather team with Jerry Taft, Cheryl Scott, Phil Schwartz, and Tracy Butler. Only on ABC 7 Eyewitness News. In 03 through 08, a Red. 2009 through last year, a Rocky.
It's a strike to Jackson. Curve strike. Fernando Rodney up in the Cubs bullpen. Seven Cardinal pitchers today. You see 6, maybe 7 Cub hurlers. It's all said and done. Off the plate inside, Starlin Castro. Out of this game now as Javier Baez is playing second. Just a one-man wrecking crew. 2-run homer off Seth Maness in the 5th. 3-run homer off Steve Cishek in the 6th.
And RBI single the first time up.
Got the curtain call.
Locked in.
What a day. You know, we shouldn't necessarily praise a guy for handling his quote demotion with class. You'd hope most guys would, but not everybody does. And he handled it as well as you could. Clearly he was disappointed to not remain the everyday shortstop. I think by the end, toward the end of his tenure there, JD was putting a lot of pressure on himself. He got a few days off to kind of get his head together and give the manager a lot of credit for keeping Starlin engaged and feeling like he was a big part of this team. And now it's hard to keep him out of the lineup.
Yeah, and that's the managers, the coaches, the veteran players, everybody in that club, I'm sure at one point or another, hey man, you're going to be all right. Pat on the back. Let's go get him. You're still a big part of this, and that's the beauty of being on a winning team. Still, he realized that he still had time to be a big contributor here down the stretch. In a more limited role, but yeah, it's now obviously. I'm sure he's playing more now than Joe Madden thought he would when he first made that change.
That is behind Rizzo, and Matt Belisle is out of the game. Rizzo's first couple of steps actually toward the mound.
Oh yeah.
He's not happy.
Yeah, well, it was Belisle's been around the league a long time, and maybe he feels like he had to respond to Holiday getting hit. Clearly, there was no intent on the part of Dan Herron when Holiday got hit.
So we will get an enforced pitching change.
And he throws it down around the legs. So I guess if you're going to throw at somebody, that's the way to do it. I mean, I think it was a little silly. But if you feel like you have to do that, so Anthony had a chance to kind of regroup and take his base, and hopefully we just move on and play here.
So Sam Tuivailala will get as much time as he needs. 7th inning, 8-3 Cubs. And then a day game Sunday. The Brewers come in starting Monday night. Belisle ejected. Just caught the back pant leg of Rizzo. That counts as a hit by pitch. And he's on for the 4th time. And Mike Matheny also ejected, right? That's an automatic.
Yeah, that's an automatic.
Warnings.
Yep, goes with him. Not sure that Mike Matheny would endorse that move by Belisle. Perhaps he did. He might even have ordered it. I don't know. I doubt it. I think it's probably just Belisle doing it on his own.
It's the mini helmet rub when you get hit by a pitch.
I still don't know if when you've burned through as many pitchers as the Cardinals have here today, if Matheny is a fan of having to go to the bullpen yet again. Valhalla, one of the better names in baseball. He's got a good fastball to go along with it. 3rd round pick in 2010.
I got to bring out the Tom Brokaw again. Matt Belisle to Sammy Tuivailala. And the 0-1 to Bryant misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. That is a terrible Tom Brokaw, but you get the idea.
I got it. I got it. I can hear Tom in there.
One off the plate in.
Bulk of the year at AAA, where he had a 1.60 ERA and 17 saves.
Strike called 2-2 to Bryant. Rizzo runs, and the ball gets away from Cruz. Wild pitch. No.
Stolen base, right?
It's got to be a stolen base. Yep. Changed it. Rizzo with number 17.
Riz is thinking, I'm going to get into scoring position, see if I can drop an earned run on Belisle here. If he's going to hit me, I'm going to try to make him pay.
Swung on and missed, and that will end the inning. It's getting a little intense. Cardinals and Cubs. We've got 2 more this weekend. 8-3 after 7. Hey, Cub fans, if you missed any of today's action, ABC 7 will rebroadcast each one of the Cubs matchups on the Live Well Network. Today's encore of the Cubs and Cardinals will be aired in its entirety beginning at 7 p.m. on ABC's digital channel 7.2 and the following cable channel positions. There's Chris Denorfia playing left. Here's Fernando Rodney.
9th time he has taken the mound with the Cubs. He's 1-0 with a 1.35 ERA. 6 2/3 innings of work so far.
Inside on Jason Hayward.
Good heater plus changeup. Plus changeup.
Inside again. What is your maximum of pluses? What's the best pitch in baseball?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't have the answer.
Fastball would be up there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be up there.
102, 103. You give him 3 pluses.
Yeah, that could be a plus, huh?
If you add up all the pluses, Jake Arrieta would be right in that mix with all his 4 pitches.
Yeah,
right?
the elite guys. That's the thing. There's so many good weapons.
One missed outside for ball 4. Leadoff walk. Here comes Peralta.
That guy tomorrow for the Cardinals, Walker's got a real good changeup. Kind of dig the Clayton Kershaw curveball.
Yeah, that was one on my list. Bounce to short. Baez to Rizzo. Double play. 6-4-3.
Well, Cubs just playing a beautiful game. Bullpen's been sturdy. Offense obviously getting it done, and there's been some sparkling defensive plays. Addison Russell in the middle of so much of it, but a very good turn under duress there by Javi Baez.
Base is empty. And outside on Piscotty.
Get a feeling you watch Russell and Baez in the middle of the diamond, you start to look like the Globetrotters after a while. They can do some fancy things out there.
Baez has looked like a Gold Glove third baseman in the very limited time we've seen him over there. You know what he is? He's a plus.
He's plus. He's a plus defender.
On the outside corner, it's 1-2. Wong is on deck. The first time in about 2.5 hours, no action in either bullpen right now as Baez makes the play. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It's the Cubs 8, the Cardinals 3.
presented by the authority of the Chicago Cubs, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Chicago Cubs.
8-3 late. Tuivailala to Montero. 2-0. A Neil Ramirez sighting. He's up in the bullpen. Back from arm issues.
Chatted with Neil briefly yesterday as we were boarding the charter. I said, "How you feeling?" He said, "I'm good. I'm good to go. Just waiting for my chance." I saw that T-shirt out there, Dunston to Sandberg to Grace, reminded me today is Rhino's birthday.
Happy birthday, Rhino.
56 for the Hall of Famer. Might as well have two.
Assuming Ramirez gets into the game, it would be his first big league appearance since July 25th.
Two walks and a knock for Montero today. He scored twice.
He's been running the bases a lot lately. Scored twice yesterday as he pulls that one way foul.
He got to jog a little bit today because he was on there when Castro hit those home runs. Skies are darkening.
Yeah, it's going to rain at some point. Cooled off a couple of degrees with the wind shift. So temperature-wise, very comfortable. Started at 75. Could be a couple of notches below that. Foul tip, strike three.
I think he's usually patient. I think just wanted to do some damage there.
Tall order here. He's hitting in the 7th spot. RBI single, intentional walk, 2-run homer, 3-run homer, all from the guy ahead of him in the lineup. That was at one point Starlin Castro. But Denorfia technically in the spot vacated by Pedro Strop. So you don't want to be the guy after the guy. You want to be the guy after the guy after the guy.
Yeah, well, at the end of my scorebook, I have this final column that it's either the 12th inning if we go extras, or I'll put little tally marks in to keep track of RBIs. And rarely do I have the 4 tallies with the slash through it and a couple more, but that was the case for Castro here today.
To Denorfia. Ball 4. Well, on top of everything else for Castro, it's just the simple fact that he got here in 2010. This is the first winning team he's been on. And to be able to not only enjoy being on a winning ball club, but to really be.
It's a big part of it, yeah.
An integral part of it is huge.
Shaping up to be just a very disappointing year for him. He has been able to turn that around in a big way. And well, I'm sure the Cub fans that have followed him all those years are feeling great for the kid, and it's fun to watch him here lately, and especially today.
One strike on Baez.
Boy, everybody loves a comeback story, and he's turned things around here late this year.
1-1 delivery. Big swing and a miss. Two on the way. He held on a pitch outside. Full count, 3-2. Russell on deck.
Well, let's see if he gets a fastball here on 3-2. Get the head out in front of 96 and see how far it goes. Nope, didn't challenge.
Back. That guy hopes to be back at some point. Adam Wainwright. I guess Monday he's going to find out if he will be cleared for some more aggressive rehab work coming back from the Achilles injury. Foul tip, strike 3. 2 gone. What Wainwright could give them, nobody knows, but he has treated this rehab as if he was going to come back this year. Never really thought about shutting it down. He made 4 starts. He's been out since late April. Don't forget Jordan Walden. He was their setup guy. He has missed all but the first month, and he will not be back. Adams has returned. He's made a couple of starts. Holiday has not started. And again, he got hit in the back of the head by a pitch. John Jay with a wrist has had 2 DL stints.
Well, Lackey, Martinez, Walker, Lynn, much of the year they've been really good. Not really good, excellent. There was a time when all 4 of them had sub-3 ERAs a good chunk of the season.
Randall Grichuk has been on the DL a couple of times. It is really remarkable. Jaime Garcia. Good to see Holiday on the bench. Yeah, I assume he went through the concussion protocols after getting beamed in the back of the helmet.
So Tom Ricketts watching this ball game.
That's a base hit.
He is going to be, the chairman is going to be on Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz this week.
Oh, great.
He'll be on Saturday morning. He'll be the guest. WBEZ 9 a.m. I think.
Now, do you know that because he told you, or that you heard it?
My daughter texted me the other day. Big fans.
We'll check that out. Here's Dexter Fowler. Ball 1. He's taken 2 of the 11 walks the Cubs have accepted today. Season high.
I mean, I've always held Tom in high regard, but now that he's going to be on Wait, I mean, he's gone way up there on my list. pitches have the Cardinals thrown here today? My goodness.
Lynn, the starter, made 83. So they basically had over 100 pitches through 4 innings. Lynn and Lyons. Bounce to Moss. He'll backhand to Ivalala. Bailed him out on a very low throw.
Yeah, wow.
And we'll go to the ninth. We'll add up those pitches. We can do some simple math, I think. 202. There you go. 8 strikeouts. Thanks, guys.
Player of the game, any question, any doubt who it be? Starlin Castro. He has been really good lately, and he had a monster day today. 2 home runs, 3 hits, drove in 6. He was hitting .359 over his last 21 ball games coming into this one, and a lot of power too. 5 home runs now in that stretch.
Yeah, it matched his career high in RBIs, his major league debut. He had a 3-run homer and a 3-run triple in Cincinnati in 2010. So now Neil Ramirez. Good to see him back out there. First time in a Cub uniform since late July, and for only the 14th time this season. Right shoulder inflammation, left abdominal soreness, 2 trips to the DL in 2015. The 0-1 to Colton Wong bounces. Two and 1. Skies have darkened considerably over the last half hour or so. Things looking very bright for this Cubs team as they're trying to notch their 4th straight win. 3-1. And get to within a game and a half of the Pirates for the top wild card and within 6 of the division.
5-run lead here in the 9th. You're just going to pump a fastball over the heart of the plate here. That would be the goal.
And he's pulled into right. Jackson's got it on the run.
Throw it in there. Let somebody make a play for you. Yeah, he has been on quite a tear. Last 16 ball games, 20 out of 48 with 4 long ones.
A strike on Cruz.
The other thing about it, Starlin, sometimes he'll get in one of those stretches where he'll get a bunch of hits, but it's a little flare off the end of the bat, and he'll squirt one through the hole on the left side. It's been a lot of line drives and backing up outfielders.
Cruz with a half swing, counts as a full cut. 1-2. Called strike 3. Two outs. Cub fans getting on their feet. Here comes Brandon Moss.
Tommy Hunter in position to get the win here today.
Oh, yeah, we've got to figure that out.
We got the final out in the 5th. And then the Cubs, that's when Castro hit the 2-run home run in the bottom of the inning to break the tie. The pen has been airtight here today. A couple walks from Zach Roskup, but the pen has not allowed any runs. Only 1 hit.
One and one, you often hear about a soft landing, and in some ways it is with a 5-run lead for Neil Ramirez. But the adrenaline's got to be pumping, man. He's trying to get this final out.
Yeah.
Huge sellout crowd here at Wrigley Field. You're trying to get your magic number down to 8. Lined. Jackson will play it on a bounce. Moss keeps the Cardinals alive at least for one more hitter. He's got 3 hits today.
That base runner right there is going to be enough for Joe Madden to get Hector Rondon up.
John Jay will bat.
5-run lead, 2 out in the 9th, and it comes under the category of doing your due diligence. Joe gets his closer up.
Well, fun with the box score. If you want to check it out, you'll see in the morning at least 12 players in the 9 spot for the Cardinals today. Lynn, Lyons, Holiday, Cosma, Manus, Choate, Cishek, Sokolovic, Garcia, Belisle, Tuivailala, Jay. Strikes.
Well, the other thing about Neil Ramirez's appearance here today is he's trying to convince Joe Madden that he's an option. Somebody he could call on more frequently going forward.
Kick and a pitch. 1-2.
Could have been.
Wait. sums it up right there, that shot.
Try to finish him with a high heater. Too high. Maybe if it's about beak high, he might get him to chase. He was way up. Dan Bellino doesn't have a sense of the moment here. These fans want strike three in the worst way. Never mind integrity. Trying to blow the roof off the place.
Lost runs, 3-2 pitch, called strike three, Cubs win. They take the opener, 8-3 the final. Talked earlier.